Have you ever traveled across the Rocky Mountains? When I was young, Dad and Mom took my brother and me on a train trip. We traveled west from Chicago across the Rockies. One of the most remarkable sights in the Rocky Mountains is what is called the Timberline. As you travel, you rise from the valleys where the forests are immense and bountiful. As you continue to climb, the trees grow smaller. At last, you come to the Timberline, the final frontier of the trees, the last stand beyond which they are unable to maintain themselves against the fierce weather of the upper heights. Still farther above, you can see the snow-clad summits, and here are found only an occasional struggler, twisted, stunted, whipped, and beaten, maybe only inches high. Researchers once found one little courageous growth, only 2 inches high. They counted 28 rings. 28 years of bitter fighting against the impossible produced only 2 inches of misshapen growth. There is a human timberline, as well. Louisville and Jefferson County, Kentucky, merged in 2003 to form Louisville Metro. In 2020, Louisville Metro was the 43rd largest city in the United States. In the 1970s, the Louisville and Jefferson County school systems merged. The characteristics of the community have changed very little over the past decades, however. Louisville Metro contains 26 council districts that reveal population densities in the area. The community is cut in eastern and western population halves by Interstate 65, though the population center of the county has been shifting eastward. This division is one timberline. The East End has a more metropolitan identity than the western portion of the county. That is, East End residents identify themselves with the community, at least with the portion of the community they know. They will more readily say they are from Louisville. The strongest support for the city-county merger came from the East End. The East End tends to be more affluent, more Republican, and whiter than the rest of the community. One may also discern another division, or timberline, in the community that used to approximate the old city-county boundary, Interstate 264, also called the Watterson Expressway. This expressway is the inner ring for Metro Louisville, but it functions as a demographic boundary only in the western portion of the county. In the east, there is very little recognition of the inner ring as a boundary. Interstate 264 does divide the western half of the county by half again. These halves are called the West End and the South End. Both the West End and South End share some general characteristics. Residents are generally less affluent and more closely identify with their neighborhood or small community. Ethnic minorities are more present, especially in the West End. The West and South Ends are traditionally Democratic. More statistical information helps reveal the differences in the 3 sections of Louisville. The following graphs and tables are basic statistics for the West End, South End, and East End. The West End has a predominantly African American population and, based on Jefferson County public school categories, a high level of low-income families. Over 2/3 of the children attending public schools and residing in the West End are on free or reduced lunches. A simple drive through the West End supports these statistics. Though there are isolated pockets of affluence, the area is the poorest of the 3 sections of the community. An indication of the feelings of abandonment, isolation, and neighborhood identity in the West End was the misguided initiative by some community activists to secede from the city of Louisville and form a new municipality, West Louisville. This initiative never gained any traction and appeared to be more posturing than proposal, but it does illustrate the level of frustration and emotion in the West End in recognition of the Timberline. People above, or inside in this case, the Timberline know it exists. A Louisville police officer once observed to me that he noticed that there were 4 classes of people in the city: upper class, middle class, lower class, and underclass. In his view, the underclass just simply wanted to make it to tomorrow. They needed a place to stay and something to eat. Whether it was in a residence, in a shelter, or in jail was of no consequence. This observation connects with one made by an urban missionary. He said that the one ingredient required for evangelizing is hope. Hope is essential. We must spread hope through our presence, our patience and persistence, reaching all persons, even the hopeless underclass. Jesus is ultimately the hope of the world and the hope of the West End of Louisville. The disparity is obvious. The Timberline is real. The United Methodist Church, however, is abandoning the West End where the least, lost, and last live among us. The United Methodist Church is called to get up and go to the great city. Jonah chapter 1 verse 2. Will the United Methodist Church respond as Jonah did to the invitation of God? Does not God also care about the great city? Jonah chapter 4 verse 11. The book of Jonah records Jonah's reluctant response and initial success. The book of Nahum records Jonah's ultimate failure. What fruit will the United Methodist Church produce in this community?